911, where's your emergency?
My wife had an accident. She's still breathing.
What kind of accident?
Down downstairs.
Late at night on December 9, 2001, emergency responder arrived at home in Durham, North Carolina. At the bottom of a narrow staircase lay Kathleen Patterson, covered in blood. Her husband, Michael Patterson, claimed that she had accidentally fallen down the stair, but investigators soon believed the scene told a very different story. This case, known as State Agent Patterson, quickly became one of America's most controversial homicide investigations. What initially appeared to be tragic accident soon evolved into a forensic mystery involving blood evidence, expert testimony, and conflicting theories surrounding Kathleen Patterson's death. Michael Patterson was a well-known novelist and former Marine officer living in Durham, North Carolina. Intelligent and politically connected, Patterson was respected within his community for his writing career and outspoken personality. His wife, Kathleen Patterson, was a successful telecommunication executive at Nortel Networks. Friends described her as hardworking, independent, and financially successful. To outsiders, the couple appeared to live a stable and comfortable life. However, investigators later uncovered financial difficulties, hidden personal secrets, and evidence suggesting that Patterson's marriage may not have been as perfect as it seemed. When investigators examined the staircase, they discovered extensive blood stains surrounding the scenes. Blood was smeared across the wall, stair, and floor. Medical examiner identified 7 deep lacerations on Kathleen Patterson's scalp. Surprisingly, despite the severe bleeding, there was no skull fracture or major brain injury typically associated with fatal staircase falls. The prosecution argued that Kathleen's injuries were inconsistent with a simple accident. Bloodstain pattern expert testified that would resemble injury caused by a violent assault. However, the defense insists that Kathleen accidentally slipped and repeatedly struck her head during the fall after consuming alcohol and Valium. With no eyewitness and no murder weapon ever discovered, the truth remains uncertain. The trial of Michael Patterson became a battle between forensic science, expert testimony, and conflicting interpretation of evidence. In this presentation, we will critically examine the forensic findings, legal argument, investigative issues, and controversies surrounding one of America's most debated homicide cases.
Okay, let's move on to analysis. Bloodstain pattern analysis. Investigator observed blood spatter on walls, smeared blood, dried blood stain, and large quantities of blood surrounding the staircase area. The prosecution argued that the blood patterns were inconsistent with a simple accidental fall. The victim suffered repeated impacts, and the blood evidence suggested a violent assault. Forensic pathologist Dr. Deborah Radish stated that the injuries were consistent with an assaultive beating type pattern. Critical analysis says that the prosecution interpretation was strengthened by multiple scalp lacerations, defensive wounds, and blood distribution throughout the staircase. However, there are limitations existed because there was no murder weapon existed, no eyewitness, and bloodstain interpretation can sometimes be subjective. Let's see on medical and injury analysis. Injury interpretations, the autopsy identified seven scalp laceration, bruises and abrasion, defensive injuries on the victim's arm and hands, and extensive blood loss. Prosecution's view, the injuries were inconsistent with a staircase fall because multiple impacts occurred, injuries appeared concentrated on the back and the side of the head, and there was no skull fractures were present despite severe bleeding. In defense view, the defense expert argued that the injuries could result from repeated impacts against stairs. Blood spatter could occur from coughing blood, and the scene was inconsistent with a typical beating. Evaluation. The medical evidence strongly supported homicide, but conflicting expert opinions created reasonable debate regarding the exact mechanism of injury. These are the prosecution versus defense. The prosecution says that death was homicide, and the defense said that was accidental, and so the list goes. Similarity evidence. The court allowed evidence from 1985 death of Elizabeth Ratliff because investigators identified strong similarities between both deaths. The similarities including both women found at the bottom of the staircase, large amounts of blood was found, blood spatters on the walls, there was no witnesses. Peterson was the last known person with both victims. Both deaths initially appeared accidental. On critical evaluation, the evidence increased suspicion against Peterson because of the unusual similarities. However, the incident occurred many years apart, and the evidence raised unfair prejudice by encouraging jurors to assume Peterson had a pattern of behavior. And the last one is motive analysis. So there are possible motives for this crime, including the prosecution presented evidence of financial difficulties, significant credit card debt, life insurance benefits, and Peterson's extramarital sexual activities. So for financial motive, Peterson stood to receive approximately insurance money, deferred compensation, and other financial benefits after Caitlin's death. For relationship motive, investigators discovered emails involving sexual relationship with men, which prosecutors argued could have caused marital conflict. On critical analysis, although motive alone does not prove murder, the combination of financial stress and hidden personal relationships strengthened the prosecution's theory.
Next, UMNO Criminal Binti Minhal will present to you about the recommendations. Firstly, investigators should conduct systematic documentation of all bloodstain evidence at the staircase scene using high-resolution photography, scale imaging, sketches, and also video recordings. Proper documentation is essential because blood pattern analysis relies heavily on accurate measurements and stain positioning. This step is justified because the Peterson case involved numerous bloodstains located at the staircase wall, floor, and also surrounding surface, making preservation of spatial relationship critical for it. Secondly, investigators should classify the bloodstain patterns observed at the scene. The staircase evidence repeatedly contained blood spatter, transfer stain, white patterns, and also pooling patterns. Transfer stains occur when a body surface contact another surface and may indicate movement of the victim or suspect. Wipe and sweat patterns can demonstrate disturbance of existing bloodstain and possible body movement after the injury. Pooling patterns indicate the prolonged bleeding at a stage. These findings support the prosecution argument that Caitlin Peterson did not simply fall accidentally, but instead experienced repeated blunt force trauma while remaining in the staircase. The next recommendation is to determine the directionality and angle of impact of the blood droplets. BPA methodology states that elongated blood stains indicate the direction of travel, while the tail of the stains point toward the movement. Investigators should calculate the angle of impact using the formula of angle of impact equal to inverse sines in brackets width over length. The calculation allows the forensic analysis to determine how blood struck the surface and reconstruct the position of the victim during the bloodshed. In Peterson case, multiple impact angles and directional stains on the vertical surface would be more consistent with repeated impacts from blunt force injury rather than the passive dripping caused by the fall. Furthermore, investigators should apply line of convergence and point of origin analysis to establish where the bloodshed began. BPA methodology explains that the lines drawing through the long axis of bloodstain can identify the area of convergence and reconstruct the origin point of. The stringing method should also be implemented to determine the 3D origin of the bloodshed. This recommendation is justified because the determining the victim's position during bleeding can differentiate between a standing assault and also the accidental.
Here we are arriving at the conclusion of this case study presentation. In this presentation, our group have discussed about how important bloodstain pattern analysis and forensic science in reconstructing crime scene and determining the cause of death, such in this case, State against Peterson case. The evidence presented by the prosecution like blood spatter pattern, multiple scalp laceration, defensive wound and similarities with Elizabeth Redde's case strongly supported that the theory of homicide. However, in the court, the defense challenged these findings by arguing that the injuries and blood evidence is the result from accidentally falling down the staircase. This case shows that both strength and limitation of forensic interpretation. While bloodstain pattern analysis can provide on how the event might be, the conclusion may still vary depends on the expert interpretation and available evidence that been shown in that case. Hence, this case remains one of the most debated forensic cases, showing the importance of accurate crime scene documentation, scientific analysis, and equal evaluation in the pursuit of justice. So that's all from us in this case study presentation. Hoping that doctors are enjoying watching our video and give us good marks. So, Assalamualaikum and have a good day.